morning, everyone. There are perks to living in Hollywood. No planes this time. I'm not jumping into Staples Center. I was much safer. In fact, our corporate insurance, they much prefer me to be in the metaverse. Humanity is on the cusp of a new era where we will experience total freedom to dream, to innovate, to do things that would be impossible before. We'll be in multiple locations at the same time, be able to meet people around the world instantly, make new friends. In many ways, the borders have already fallen, and we've seen it post the pandemic, but this is just the beginning. The imagination age requires two things to happen. One, the infrastructure of that new age, we call it the Omniverse. The Omniverse is really just a collection of metaverses. And what is in the Omniverse is a multi-channel approach to attack and to get to your customers, your clients, and that's what the Omniverse is. We will live there, we will work there, we will do all the things you saw me doing just a few minutes ago. But one other interesting fact about the Omniverse, it doesn't work without freedom of thought. It does not work without freedom of information. If you want to understand why we believe Elon Musk bought Twitter is not to be the greatest person in the world or to control all the information, but rather to make sure that the information that we get is true and accurate, and that it's free and open, because only then can we truly innovate. Of course, there are challenges with any one person or one human owning all of the information. And we're going to explore that in today's discussion. Because this is a discussion about life. It's not about technology. And we'll talk about how we're going to emerge as a society and people in this new age. Tocqueville came to the United States in the 1830s. He wrote Democracy in America. His observations of our great democracy. This is a great place for people to dream, to think, to be free. But tyranny of the majority can essentially break our society. What that means is there are no voices of the minority that can be heard. We don't have open discussion. Fake news today has killed conversation in our country and in the world. I sit on the board of the University of Southern California's Center for Political Future. And the purpose of that organization, and there are quite a few luminaries on that board with me, is to bring the discussion to the middle. And we're going to talk about how that's going to happen and how the Omniverse will facilitate that to happen. The emergence of the Omniverse, some people call it web, the new internet, what's emerging. It's really very simple. It's the convergence of three realities. The physical reality, where we are all today, the virtual world, and the augmented world. Okay? When those three things come together, what is achieved is a new platform for discovery and innovation, but also a new way of living. Today I'm going to build on our case for humanity, and I don't want you to be afraid of this new world, because I have to tell you, I had to come to grips with it myself. It is frightening. The imagination age and freedom of thought. Let's talk about this. I know I'm spending a little more time, but it's important to understand that 40% of humanity today does not have access to broadband. How can we innovate without that? Fake news spreads 6 times faster than the real news and real information. 2 billion people today live in fragile and conflict-affected areas. We see what's happening in Ukraine. Unbelievable. How are these people expected to work in the global economy? Over 30% of people live with limited free speech rights. This is something which surprised even me, but it's true. In the imagination age, our time will be freed for more creative and more higher value tasks. It won't just be automation and technology that brings us there. It will be us. As we emerge from the digital age, which I often talk so much about, during the pandemic, I gave 40 keynotes, okay? We built a virtual stage in the office. I tried my best to engage. This is the first time in 3 years that I've addressed an audience, and it feels wonderful. How are we going to create that type of feeling in the Omniverse? Well, there are certain technology prerequisites that are going to help us. Digital currencies, NFTs. Now, I'm not going to sell pictures of myself online. Quantum and supercomputing, holograms, digital twins, advanced networks, Starlink and others. VOT, I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Biometric technology that's going to allow us to move from room to room, to place, always knowing who we are. And finally, connecting us, what I call connected humans, a new platform for us to be able to work and play. What is VOT? This is a new concept that we've been discussing and researching for the past year at Avasant. It's called the verses of things. The Internet of Things brought us new technologies like digital thermostats, and we saw yesterday the Ring doorbell. The verses of things will be new technologies that are built using these very digital and technology prerequisites for the future. I met with one of my good friends at the Amazon Labs group up in San Jose. They're working on these technologies as we speak. Technologies that will take us into the metaverse, bring us out, stay with us all the time. Who's building the verse? There are many companies building the verse. But what are they trying to do? They're investing in immersive communications. They're investing in digital assistants and proprietary devices, online social platforms, entertainment, gaming, workplace collaboration. Sound familiar? Digital real estate, retail ecosystems, and data lakes. If you look at this slide, what it's telling you is these hyperscalers and companies are already well along the way to make these investments. And if you understand the importance of where they're lacking, where they're in the planning phase, you'll know what stock to buy next. It should be no surprise to you why Microsoft bought Activision very recently, because that was the biggest digital real estate deal of the year. Yes, they intend for us to live in those gaming universes. Consider also digital assistants. It's no surprise that there's a Google Home, Cortana, or Alexa, or Siri, because that digital assistant is part of our transfer into the metaverse. This is how we're going to interact across these three worlds of augmented reality, virtual reality, and the real world. So this is not an accident. This is actually happening. And these companies are working with intention. So when we bring it all together, we have the digital prerequisites, which are on the right, which are the critical technologies that are building the infrastructure of the metaverse. It cuts across physical, virtual, augmented worlds. And the outcome on the left shows us how we're going to live. Digital real estate is just one aspect of it. But entertainment, how we shop, how we meet our friends, all of it will be part of this. We call these verses because every company on the planet will have one, just like they have a .com address. I remember in the 2000 period where billboards were still in fashion, every billboard was .com. Every company suddenly became a .com company. I remember telling our team, well, that's a fad. It will go away. And it did. We don't call everybody .com anymore. But in the same way, this new verse is going to transport the way we do business into a new world. And like the internet of today, the people, companies, governments of tomorrow will open storefronts to engage all of us in a unique and novel way. The Omniverse will obliterate all boundaries and end the digital divide once and for all. Once and for all. If Thomas Friedman said the world is flat in the early 2000s, and if we believed that the internet and advanced communication technology and fiber optic cables and were going to break the boundaries, they didn't. If we thought the pandemic would break the boundaries, it didn't. But the Omniverse will. And for a number of reasons. Look at that tweet. It really happened. February 26, 2022. Government official from Ukraine says, while you try to colonize Mars, Russia's occupying Ukraine. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets hit the Ukrainian people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address the Russian threat. Elon Musk says, the same day, within a few hours, Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals en route. USAID spent $10 million of aid money, and in $10 million, that country got lit up in the middle of a war. How much does your wide area network cost today? You think, I heard a criticism, somebody told me, they said, well, $10 million, that's a lot of US taxpayer money. No, it's not. Light up a country for $10 million. What that means is that this technology will exist everywhere, and it won't just be Starlink that provides it, and it will be cheap once and for all, and it will be available for everyone, which means 3 billion people just entered the market to compete with you. 3 billion. You think we have labor problems now? First shortages, then too many people. Well, when these 3 billion come, they're going to fight like you've never seen. The CEO of an old company, Headstrong, once told me, he said, Kevin, those that come after you, they come from poverty, they come from hunger, and they will be your stiffest competition you've ever seen. And you cannot beat them because they will work harder than you, and they will be tireless. And that's the world we're moving into. These 3 billion people are coming online. There's over 100% increase in satellites. The information on them travels 47% faster than fiber optic cable. They are everywhere, ubiquitous. And they will make the verses of things and the technologies that operate in the Omniverse possible. So that infrastructure is happening. What are we going to do with it? How many of you today use Teams or some type of communication platform like Zoom? There are many, right? All of us. But what I've noticed in my behavior, which is going to help you see where I'm going with this, is I will get on a phone or a Teams call or a Zoom call from my home. I will be talking on the phone. I'll move to the car. It seamlessly moves with me into my Bluetooth. I get to the office. My car actually will tell me, okay, it'll automatically guide me to work because it's programmed to do so. I'll get to the office, and this is today, right? And my voice call will seamlessly transfer to my laptop. And I'll just keep going and turn my video on, and nobody really knew anything different. Imagine where we're going. We call it digital air. The data stays with us. We don't need any devices in the world we're going to. The data is built in to the air. Meaning, if you look at this person in the car, the technology exists in the vehicle. The biometrics immediately identify who he is. All the information that he has, the calls that he's on, the access to information, his storage, his data, his contacts, everything that belongs to this gentleman is with him. When he leaves the car, he might throw on his augmented glasses and it's still with him. He gets to the office and the room lights up and he's still on his call. You see, the power of digital air is that it's invisible and there are no devices. It is fully based on biometric technology, and information and analytics are for our use and benefit all the time, 24/7. And this is where we're going. And we're not going here in 5 years or 10 years. It's happening now. Hyper-accelerated human insights. How is technology going to help us innovate? Well, one of the biggest challenges that I've faced, and I think many of you have faced also, I see this person on a manual typewriter. It reminded me of my applications to college, which were on a manual typewriter. I didn't have a correction ribbon because those things were, it was not a Selectric typewriter. It was one of those things with hammers. And I sometimes would bring a little white piece of thing and try to mark it out. But why do I bring that up? Because if I made a mistake, I would have to crumple up the paper and throw it in the trash. Does anybody remember doing that? I do, barely. There were no word processors. There was no way to organize your thoughts. If you changed your mind on something, you had to stop. If you needed to do some research, you might take a day, go to the university, go to the library, find what you need. You might have lost track of where you were. Happened to me all the time. And then word processors came, of course. What is all of this doing to the speed of thinking? Well, we got a little faster. We could now move words around the page. We were conserving paper. But what did it do to our speed of thought? Well, it accelerated it. Now we can go to the internet. Now we can do our research live. But where we're going is a place where we can innovate on the fly, where we can access not just information from a search engine, but we can analyze it live. Asking questions like, I'd like to understand the difference between the population of India and the population of China between these years. And I'd like to understand the growth rates of each during that same period. And are there any trends that I need to understand as well? Because the intelligent devices that are being developed now will help us with our research, will help us with our thinking, will allow us to innovate on the fly. Unbroken thoughts. I gave a presentation just very recently. It was at the Berkshire Hathaway event. It was the CIO Summit in December. And I gave a keynote there. And it was a virtual event. So I interacted with all of them in a virtual setting. They did a pretty good job. After I gave my presentation, I moved into a big Zoom room and I could talk to people. They could ask me questions. It was incredibly unfulfilling. But at the same time, it was the best we had. So how do we fix that? Well, if you look at this slide, what you see here is we will build new realities, custom realities. I may invite you to my living room. You might be in London, I might be in the United States, and we'll find a place to live and work together. You may go to your Starbucks, I may go to my Starbucks, and maybe that coffee shop is outfitted with the technology necessary for us to have coffee together. Think about that. That's coming. So we have the ability to build our digital reality, but that will be more than just a fake digital reality. It will be real to us because we will buy furniture, NFTs, blockchain. Anybody familiar with this? What's really going on here? We will buy plants. We will bring our physical reality into the digital world. We will have assets. We may choose to live in very small houses because we actually have a beautiful virtual house in a gaming environment. Today, these properties are starting at about $13,000 to buy your digital home. And if you want to live near Snoop Dogg, it's about $500,000 right now. For real. So this is happening. And the hyperscalers know it. We've been investing in it. And now we're going to experience it. Secure the truth and veracity of information. I started the presentation telling you that it was important that we did because we are dividing ourselves by not having real facts in real time. The speed that misinformation travels is so quick that people separate before they ever have a chance to be together. If you look at this woman, she's spreading some fake news. But in the very near future, we will be able to identify it instantly with blockchain technology as a low-confidence fake news moment. Starling Lab is a collaboration between Stanford University and USC, and what they're focusing on is how to use blockchain technology to instantly be able to establish fake information. So you might just download a widget into your browser like I just did here. I clicked, and I got this information saying, don't believe this news. It is not valid, or there is a high degree of probability that the statements are fake. Imagine what that would do to Fox News and CNN. Probably put them out of business. But what it would do for all of us is bring us a little bit closer together. Fake news is 70% more likely to be retweeted as well. Consider that. We're addicts today. Totally addicted. This platform that we build will build the businesses of tomorrow and redefine our relationships with the world. It will redefine our relationships with the world. Today, over 160 large cap companies already live in the verse, from Coca-Cola to Nike, Tesco, everyone building their own verses. You saw the Avaverse. That's a real thing. We're building it. Not yet completed, but it is on its way. And why? Because Teams just doesn't cut it. Neither does Zoom. We want to have those rich communications and relationships, and we will. $500 million so far spent on digital land sales in just 2021. That's nothing. It's coming. I hope you're investing. 500% increase in digital real estate prices in just the last 6 months. Everybody's building their own verse. So how does the verse help us build a more sustainable world? Well, what we've seen is that it can reduce travel, It means that we will have more virtual goods that we're purchasing. It means that those consumables become less impactful to the environment because they're digital products, not physical ones. It means that we reduce our CO2 footprint because we're able to communicate and work in a richer way. Now, I'm very hopeful for this because I love human interaction. And for those of you that know me, you know that I love being in a place like this where we can touch hands and meet. But in a world where our businesses are relying on global participation, and again, I said early in this presentation, 3 billion people coming into the market, we will be working with them. And they will not be based here, right? We know that. We're in this industry. So we'll have to learn to work in this way, and it will be more fulfilling. Reimagining healthcare. This is amazing, and it's not just because we are talking about the rise of virtual medical centers. It's the patient experience that is happening. Kaiser is working on one of these virtual medical centers right now. Others are as well. But imagine the experience before you ever get to the hospital for your procedure. You go into the Omniverse, you have immediate examination. They're able to assess whether you have COVID, what direction you should go, whether you should come or not. You might be wearing wearables or some type of biomedical device that's tracking you and tracking your health. They will be able to assess that as well. This already is in existence, and it is growing at an exponential rate. So as you get checked into the hospital, you get sent to the right direction, you understand where your appointments are before you ever even arrive. How many of you have gone for a health visit and it doesn't matter who you are or how much money you have, you go there and you have that horrible experience of sitting, waiting to be called, no more. This will achieve universal health care as well because we'll be able to offer at a very low cost advice and support to those that cannot afford. And we will increase health safety as well. 90% of countries experienced a healthcare system disruption during the pandemic. These virtual medical centers will solve that problem. Businesses can unlock about 10x in value with the introduction of these digital assets. I love telling the story, a very true story, at least the first part of it. My daughter, my youngest one, she loves Nikes. She loves Nikes, and she asked me very recently to buy her a pair. Well, how many parents do we have in the room? It's $150. Dad, it's cheap. It's on sale, $150 for those shoes. Okay, sure. Because we feel guilty and because we love our children, we go ahead and we buy it. But that's not where it's going to end. You see, because those Nikes now, thanks to NFTs and these digital prerequisite technologies that I mentioned, there's now an augmented version of it. So Dad, for an extra $20, I can turn on the augmented feature, which means when I take a picture with me wearing them with Instagram, I can change the color of the shoe. Or if we look at the shoe through our phones, we can see stars flying from them, or I can program whatever I want to customize them. Dad, it's only a few extra dollars. Sure, honey. And then she calls me and says, you know what? Now that I've bought those shoes, I want to add them to my Fortnite avatar because I got to wear these cool Nikes when I'm gaming. It's only $50, Dad. Sure, honey. And that's the world we're moving to, because the products with your imagination will survive across all 3 planes of existence at the same time. The same product, the same service. Dream. Think about what the potential is in your businesses and in the in the work that you do. It's a $30 trillion opportunity by 2030. So the Omniverse investment by industry is rising. If you look at this slide, from utilities and resources to aerospace and defense, travel and transportation, you can see the immature on this side and the mature on this side with diverse builders. This is actual data that we've been able to collect. And you can see that billions are being spent already on the building of this new platform. And if I haven't convinced you, you will see for yourselves, because today all of us are seeing these investments come to reality. In the imagination age, we will innovate at a pace never seen in human history. And we'll do so because we are existing across these three different planes simultaneously, easily. And we will enjoy increased transparency, freedom, personal and otherwise. Our relationships will be richer. And most importantly, we will bring freedom to those that don't have it around the world, because this technology is ubiquitous. And if you're not part of it, you're not operating in the modern world. So we will bring those walls down once and for all. Thank you so much.